Okay, great. Thank you very much for being here today, like every week. So today's topic, actually, I just got a message. Somebody sent me the topic. Can you please talk about intuition? And I think it's actually a good one. I mean, there are just so many topics. Um, there are so many topics that we can talk about. You know, if you're interested in any specific ones, please let me know and just send me an email, a message. Yeah, and intuition is such an important one because it's, one thing that comes online basically 100% when we are on the journey of awakening and healing. So eventually intuition comes online. And intuition is really the impulse of information that comes up. It's the personal highest truth in the present moment. It comes up, and this is like a guidance. Do this, ask that person that, take this action, don't take this action. It could be also like a bubble of information where we just know how to do certain things. And it really comes basically from the true nature forward into the human. And it's always our personal highest truth. So nobody else in this world could know our personal highest truth but ourselves. So it's basically the inner guru, the inner guidance, the inner highest truth, whatever you want to call it. And I absolutely remember times when this wasn't there for me at all. And I was, reading books and they were like, oh yeah, listen to your inner guidance, but I couldn't hear anything. Like it was just, there was nothing there. I could hear a lot of different things, but it was definitely not my inner guidance. So what was there? So, for example, those surface energies I talk about, so this is why I clear them in the sessions. Emotions. So we have all sorts of emotions triggered during our days. We move through our days, and then emotion get triggered, and they're just on the surface. They bubble. Maybe if you experience that, you're in one emotion, then you switch to the next one, then you switch back, and then forth again, and so forth. So they're kind of on the surface level, and it's not really clear what's behind there. And basically, when you make decisions or you look through life, you always look through the lens of these specific emotions. So not from a neutral place. The same is also with thoughts. If there's a lot of thoughts and a lot of stories going on and the mind is very loud, it's often that we mistake thoughts with intuition, or the information that comes in through thoughts as intuition or guidance. But it's not like that. It's also noise. Then what could be also noise or distraction? Things we learned, from society, from parents, from teachers. They're all distracting us from hearing our personal highest truth, because then, when an option comes up, we think, oh, I make the choice, the same one as my mother would make, or as my father would make, or my colleague, or my best friend, or the person I admire so much. So we don't trust ourselves enough, that we know the answer, but we think other people do, And this is also why it's very hard to actually listen to the inner guidance or hear it, or even find it, because we often don't trust ourselves, but trust authorities or people we, let's say, admire or look up to. And then there is conditioning. Then, of course, when we work in these sessions, sometimes there's influences, energy influences from past life or ancestors. So they also come in, and we basically see life through the lens of all these layers that are there. And with this work, with the healing and clearing work, we are clearing these different influences and layers so that we come to a place in ourselves that's basically empty, but it's not empty, but just empty of these influences, of the noise. And behind there, and this is what I always share, is the silence, the clarity, the stillness. A lot more, I just use these words to describe it so that you know what I mean. And this would be then the main experience. And in this experience, the intuition rises in the present moment. It gives an information. And then this is the information from my intuition, because there's nothing else interfering. There's nothing else coming in. There is no other noise. If the mind, of course the mind can have an opinion on things, it can arise, but you just know when the space is silent and the intuition arises, this is your personal highest truth, and there's nothing that can take you out of it. Also, not other people who would, tell you their experiences and say choose differently or do something different. Like you solidly know this is my truth, and I'm not gonna listen to anybody else but myself. So it's very amazing to be connected to the highest truth, or to your personal intuition, to the intuition. And there's actually a very simple possibility what you can use if you feel you don't have access, because the intuition rises, it comes up in a split second, and then often right away other energies are influencing, so we don't hear it anymore. And then we don't trust it, and so forth. So this is why we don't act on it. But you can recognize intuition. It just comes up, it's there, and it's information, and it often doesn't make sense. There is no intellectual information why you should make a certain choice, or why you should do certain things. It's just there, and then you would just act on it and see what the outcome is. And it's every time it's the best possible outcome. When you act on your intuition, it's always the best possible outcome. So a possibility is, when you don't hear your intuition, take a coin, flip it, and you choose head and tail, which option is head and tail, for example. Then you flip it, and then what comes up, and the first, again, information that comes, oh, I'm happy that this came up, then this is your highest truth. And if you say, oh, I wish the other option would have come up, then you also know, oh, it's the other one. So this is, for example, something you could just train, but it's really like the first impulse that rises, and know this is the highest truth, and everything else that comes after, so all the emotions, the thoughts, and the other energies that are influencing, is just the noise that's veiling the highest truth that's already there. And like I said, when the system is fairly healed and cleared, the intuition comes more forward and forward. I know a lot of you are, experiencing that already, that they can hear the intuition, that they can act on it. Often there are also energies in the way that prevent us from acting on it. We also clear those energies. For example, energies I shouldn't, I must, should do something different, and so forth. So also energies that take us away from our intuition, from our personal highest truth. But over time, we just clear all of them, that there is this empty, beautiful space of silence. And in this silence, the information arises. That's the information of the intuition, and just follow that and know that's of your personal highest truth. And this is the path you should follow. So it's very, very simple. Like I always say, life gets so simple because there's not much to it. So that's the short message for today.